Hello, my name is Miles Gray, and I am your host here on Pandooradom. Welcome, Pandooranauts, and my co-host.
Paul Cradle.
Nice to see you all
Welcome to the
again.
show, everybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
welcome. How have you been, Paul?
So I'm doing well, and you just a little bored, I guess. And that kind of, how about you?
Yeah, things are rather crazy here, as is usually the case, but working through it. And I would say very rarely am I bored because it's I just always have something that I have to do. So I haven't really had much time for that leisure.
Well, it's weird. I mean, when I'm bored, what I mean is I just watch a lot of YouTube and go for a walk. But I mean,
Isn't
it's
that isn't
not
that
like
the human condition
it's
in
not
the
like
first world?
excruciating boredom. What?
I said, isn't that the human condition in the first world? Watching YouTube and going for walks.
Yeah, technically, I would be in the third world now. Bless you.
That's true, but first world condition, human
Like,
condition. Even if you are in the third
yeah.
world,
So what I wanted
you're
to
a
kind of
class A first
segue that
worlder,
into,
right?
well, well,
Paul.
I wanted to kind of segue that into how I think we're entering interesting times anyway. And so
Excuse me.
nobody, Gesundheit. So nobody will really
Thank you.
be nobody will really be bored for very long coming up shortly, I believe,
But
for
I
a
also
number of things. Okay.
I have mixed feelings
Uh,
about the about boredom. I mean, on the one hand, like I hear what you're saying. The thing is, on the one hand, boredom seems I've heard it's been said that if you are bored, it can often be a sign of great intellect, that there's just not enough
it's
to
true.
entertain your great and grand IQ.
Well,
Yet it's
I'm
very
going on online sites and ordering electronic parts for starting a hobby. So
oh yeah, we
that's
talked
good.
about
If
that
you're
in
bored,
the last
as long as
episode.
you as long as you do something to start entertaining yourself.
But
Yeah, oh, by the way,
on the other hand,
that little kit that I got, it turned out to be a total jip, but I got, and it didn't even come with all the parts that it said. It was totally jip, but it was only like $2. So I guess you couldn't really expect that, or maybe I didn't click the complete package, or who knows what. But it was two
yeah, that's
dollars, and at least I got a start. So I'm ordering more parts.
okay. So do that.
So
I think
boredom can get you started on things. And
well, hold
see,
on, but
it's
hold
a
on,
good
Paul.
prompt. It's
Paul,
a good prompt thing,
I did.
right?
The thing is, I didn't finish something important, so you're not getting the full
Okay.
story here.
Okay, go ahead.
Because it's two things. On the one hand, you have it's like I said, it's been said that people of great intellect get bored easily because they don't have enough to entertain their, completely grand and stupefying intellect or IQ. But well, even IQ that's a whole other problem we can talk about at another time. But then on the other hand, you have people who might be considered to be of a lesser intellect, but who get bored because they can't comprehend or can't really deal with the information coming their way. So you could have somebody who just can't grasp something going on in a math class, and he gets bored because he doesn't grasp it. But
Mm,
it's another issue though, because I think it's possible in many cases that the people who aren't grasping it, it's an issue of the student not being accommodated correctly by the pedagogical approach. That's often the issue. And sometimes it is
yeah.
another issue, like a neurological one, but even those can be, you can maximize people's greatness in terms of intellect or varying types of intellect. So my point is it's not clear actually whether boredom is more associated with intellect or the lack thereof. It could be either or. But I have to say, I'm not convinced that if you have a great and grand intellect, would it be likely that you'd ever be bored? Because if you are so insanely genius, wouldn't your
Yeah.
mind always have something to occupy it?
See, that's what I'm teetering towards. Like, I'm not really that bored, see, because I am still
Ha
nonetheless
ha!
occupied. I'm still occupying my mind in one way or another. I guess when I say I'm bored, I usually just mean that I'm putting some effort. I have to put some effort into occupying my mind. I don't
But I
really
don't
mean
know,
that
is
I'm
that
terrible.
that's not bored. That's just rearranging your schedule, man.
Yeah. But I think okay, regardless of what's going on in the world, it is important to have your individual life squared away
Yes.
from your own perspective. Now, there isn't any real major thing that could happen in the world that could fix you if you're not well or if you're not a happy kind of person.
Right.
But that being said,
Well
I
said.
do think things are changing rapidly in ways that we don't even know right now. Have you heard about the drones?
Oh, I've heard about the drones.
Yeah. So that's starting. And there's the Free Luigi movement, which represents, I mean, I don't really care so much about one guy, free him or not, or what he did or anything, but what it represents is a sea change occurring in the world where people are surprised, the powers that be, let's say, people who are used
Well,
to being
Paul,
important.
before you
Yeah.
go on, why don't you give a short introduction to our audience, that is to say, the Pandooranauts, about number one, the drones, and number two, Luigi, because it may be that they don't know what you're referring to, and
Okay. Well, I
also for
think,
posterity's sake, because after a
yeah.
while, even the people who did know will forget. So leave a
Okay.
record.
No, I think these two things are synchronistically aligned.
But you have to tell us what
Um,
they are.
yeah.
Tell them what.
Okay. So the United Healthcare CEO on December 4th at 6:45 a.m. on the streets of Manhattan was whacked. I'll just say whacked by
Very mafia
a
of
man
you.
who we would come to know as Luigi Mangione or Luigi Mangione, who did the deed. And some people think it was a good deed because of the way healthcare is now run in the United States. And so a lot of people were surprised at how much support this Luigi got, even before that we had a name for him. And so he was turned in by a McDonald's employee. And I think the media and a lot of CEOs and other powers that be are getting kind of scared at how supportive the public is of this whacker, let's say. And but interestingly, this has occurred around the same time that the drones started up, and it coincides almost perfectly with the time Cliff High said there was a temporal marker for 39 days after the Trump Rogan interview where he said Melee would start. He titled the talk 39 Days to Melee.
Yeah.
And that coincides, but he
But
didn't say it was exact. He
why
said it
don't
was
you
about
tell
39 days.
but now
I,
explain now you have to give an explanation about what the drone what you
of the
refer to
drones.
with regard
Okay,
to the drones.
okay. So starting a couple of weeks prior to Luigi Mangione's deed, the drones started, but it was in hushed tones. Nobody really talked about it.
But
But
what are
starting
the
around
drones,
the time of
Paul?
okay, what are the drones? Okay, starting around the time of Luigi Mangione, people started seeing over New Jersey mysterious drones that they couldn't explain. Some even were reported as being the size of an SUV, and they were at night with FAA regulation lights. And but at the same time, our government said they didn't know what they were, but they knew they were not ours. They knew they were not from an adversary somehow, and they knew that they posed no threat. Which those two things, we don't know what they are, and they pose no threat, are just contradictory in themselves. But that's what the government was feeding
But
us,
but on
and so
the
that started
but on the
around
other hand, how is this any
February 4th.
but this is not so different from, many of the sort of unusual sightings that had been had, especially over the United States.
Although there's an uptick in sightings, and they are trying to explain it away. The government is
But I
trying to
mean they've
explain it
been
away
but I'm
as, oh,
saying
that's
that they've been
Venus, that's swamp
but they've been
gas,
trying
that's
to
airplanes.
but the policy has been to explain it away since Roswell.
Yeah, but they're not able to do that anymore. Now, here's what I think. I think that most of the drone sightings are us. Well, let's say
Me and you?
humans. I don't think, I mean, I
What, you think
say
we
the
turn
word
into
us
Mothman at night
very
and fly over New Jersey?
loose.
I don't have time for that.
I say the word us loosely, meaning
I'm joking.
of human origin.
Okay.
Uh,
So you don't think that
so
there's
I believe
extraterrestrial
they're of human origin,
intervention
but
here?
I think they are an obfuscation and a cover up for the orbs. And the orbs, I believe, are the return of the Anunnaki or Nephilim, or some alien race that is coming back for good reason, because I think Cliff High says, because they're here to save us from our own destruction. I think our
That
civilization
I
has
just had
reached a point where we are about to destroy ourselves.
just a minor
Either
point.
somehow we're
I just
about to destroy the
I
planet's ability to generate life.
I find it interesting that in English the words have been adapted this way to mean particular either interdimensional or alien races, depending on the theorist will say that you have the Anunnaki, which is a Sumerian designation for
Yeah,
something within their own mythology, but that's been reappropriated. And then you have what you called, I think you said Nephilim, is that how you said it?
Nephilim. I
Nephilim,
don't
because
really know much about those. I think
well,
maybe they're reptilian.
the word, well, yes, I know it refers to a lot of things within various conspiracy theories, but the word itself is from the Hebrew Nephilim, and Nephilim, it basically the root of it means the fallen or the fallen ones, because in Hebrew the word nafal means to fall or
Okay.
fall down, so
So the
Nephilim
Nephilim,
means the
mhm, they
fallen
sound a
ones.
little bit they sound a little bit more nefarious than the Anunnaki.
But hold on. So they're the fallen ones. That's the root of it, but it frequently refers to giants.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Biblically, that
I,
is.
yeah, I've seen there was
When I say
some
biblically, I
story
mean
there was some
tanachically.
story on YouTube where a guy had supposedly spotted a Nephilim standing on a mountain. It was a cell phone tower, I think, but
So he saw and if it's let's see, like a nafil because or nefil
yeah,
because nephilim with the im at the end, that's a plural. That's already
plural,
plural.
yes.
Yeah.
He saw one of the Nephilim, I should
Yeah,
say.
right. That's better.
So that's, but I don't
Sorry, this
believe
isn't
that.
grammar
I
class.
don't
I
believe that. I don't believe that was a true sighting. I think that was
See, I don't know if
just
these,
a
I don't know about this. I mean, these are frequently people talk about the Anunnaki and then the Nephilim and so forth. I mean, Nephilim really, but I don't
well,
know.
somebody though is back in their ships, I believe, and their ships are appearing as orbs at
Well,
first, and they may morph or they may
this is,
pop into our
but we're
dimension.
getting ahead of ourselves, Paul, because this is
Okay.
already assuming that we know for certain that there are extraterrestrials. To me, it's a confusing issue. Okay,
Well,
because
okay.
if you
Well,
hold on, hold on.
you'll see,
No,
you'll
but
see
hold.
soon.
Well, that's what they
That's what I
say. Listen. There are two issues at hand. On the one hand, it looks completely convincing that of course we've been visited. That there seem to be mountains upon mountains of evidence, in terms of sightings, in terms of all of this questionable government intervention about around certain events like Roswell, the Marfa lights, all this. A lot of it is relatively easily explained away by science, not explained away, explained by science, some of them. Some of them are not so well explained away with the away at the end. And the supposed explanations are far less convincing. Doesn't mean that it's not the case, but it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But the second issue is that then it seems like, okay, on the other hand, you have people like Carl Sagan, you have, pretty hardcore scientists, but who are still very imaginative and hopeful. Uh, they look at the world, they look at our history, and they have a more conventional view of scientific history, where they say, okay, we haven't actually been visited yet. They just take that as a premise. Like, we have not been visited yet. Why is that the case? And they say, well, it may be that the universe is far more insidious than we realize. That is to say, there are probably other races out there on other planets, but they know something we don't, and so they are hiding. They're purposely
Mm.
they're purposely
Oh, well,
camouflaging themselves in order that
no,
we and other alien races would not even know they're around, because otherwise
I definitely,
they
I
would be
definitely
killed.
agree. I agree they mostly hide. They stay out of our affairs mostly and out of sight.
But you're talking about interventionist aliens, right? I'm talking about aliens on some far-flung planet who don't want anything to do with us nor with anybody else, and they're not necessarily
Oh, that's
nearby.
most. Oh, that's most of them.
But hold on,
Yes.
how do you know about this? Because this is all theoretical.
Well, now most of them, yes, they stay. They have nothing to do with us. But there
But
are
how do you
some
know
who
that?
are
Based on what? Paul.
well by the number. Well, like, look, when when you go down the street, are you really interested in most of the people? No, they're just people in the neighborhood, right?
True, but that's true enough, but that doesn't prove the existence of aliens on other planets.
Well, if you just by common sense, if you assume that there are
This is
men,
the farthest thing from common sense.
yeah, no, it is common sense because we can just extrapolate from sociality. Look, if there
But you
are
how can you extrapolate cosmic matters from
well,
sociology?
because now from sociology, because look, if there are many alien civilizations,
If
it just follows that most of them wouldn't have very much to do with us. Just like most of your classmates in
Yes,
a large
yeah,
school.
logically, if this is a logical problem, then yes, I agree with you
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's where I'm coming at it
But
from. I don't with it's what I derive without knowing anything.
But that's
Okay, if
well,
I
so
knew
that's the
something
but
more.
that's what we're but that's the pith of what we're actually debating here is not the logical question, but whether there actually are aliens or not.
Well, yes, there are. Yeah, they're coming. Did you see the orbs are being reported? The
Right.
Anunnaki are
But
coming back.
but
And
but the thing is that I don't know, man. I mean, I've
well,
heard
you won't know until you know. Okay, you won't know until you know. I
well
prefer
that goes for
I
everybody.
feel that I know. I feel that I know all like in my heart something says they're back. Yes.
If they ever came in the first place. See,
Well,
see this
see,
is
that's what I think this
like
corroborates.
this is the thing. There are
It
plenty
would
of
be a
people who
source.
believe in what is it called? Like alien interventionist conspiracy theories, things like various. alien races assisting the ancient Egyptians in building the periods, that
Yeah.
the
Well,
pyramids.
out
But
of all the possible contexts,
hold
what are
on,
the chances that you would make the first contact? No, they've
but hold
probably
on,
been here before.
let me finish my comment there though, because
Okay.
the pyramids, yes, that would have been an absolute feat of ancient engineering, but given what we actually know archaeologically, like if you actually read a little bit, it's pretty much impossible not to conclude that the ancient Egyptians or the human beings at that time had the resources to build a pyramid. It would not have been easy, but they had the resources to do it. The idea that human beings were so uh, just completely primitive at that time that there's no way they could have built the pyramids or similar structures without alien intervention. It's just a complete
Okay.
falsehood. So
Okay. So
I'm
if
not
it's physically
so
possible,
I'm
you
not
still
saying
haven't explained the
listen,
why.
I'm not saying that aliens didn't help them. I'm just saying that it's not true to say that we were too primitive to be able to do it without alien intervention. It doesn't mean that there
Okay.
wasn't. It just means
So, so
that the claim that we
humans,
couldn't do it alone is not true. It is patently a
so
false claim, archaeologically
okay, so
speaking.
humans, so maybe humans alone did build the pyramids in Egypt and Angkor Wat and various other things
Well,
that
sorry, what was
seem
the second one?
Angkor Wat, for
Oh,
example,
in Cambodia, where I unicycled
other
by.
large, like monolithic, feats around various places in the world.
By the way,
Okay,
you can
uh,
check out me unicycling around Angkor Wat on Amoshi Masha, www.amoshimasha, AMOSHIMASHA.com. Sorry about that.
okay, yeah, that's an interesting video. You're quite the unicycler. So, well, even
Unicyclist.
if it's physically possible at the time, using the tools humans had access to and the resources humans had access to at that time to build those structures, that still doesn't explain the why. And see,
Yeah, but
the
there are plenty of explanations as to why, though. They were trying to communicate
but
with the gods,
well, see,
or they were doing it for the
but
glory of the king or the kingdom.
but the sociological reason for doing it with primitive tools only is more bizarre, I think,
They weren't so
than just
primitive, though.
concluding, oh, they must have had extraterrestrial help. They must have had interdimensional, or they must have had help because sociologically speaking, it just doesn't make sense
To me, it
because we
does,
can't, even with our
but
um,
archaeologically,
I don't think it
it makes
does.
it makes perfect sense because if you actually make an effort to read the hieroglyphs of the various civilizations that did build these structures, you look at the hieroglyphs of the Egyptians, you look at the Mayan glyphs of the Maya who built their own pyramids at a much later date. You look at various Chinese structures in China where we used to teach way after these structures were built. If you look at
Well, it's
what
debatable.
they wrote in in Chinese characters and so on across civilizations that built megastructures of some kind and also had a writing system, even especially those prior to the invention of the alphabet. That is to say, hieroglyphics is not an alphabet. It's a logographical system. Same and
Mm.
Chinese is similar. These are all basically pre-alphabetic scripts. Anyway,
So you think they give a reason and a motive for building the pyramids?
not that in itself. I'm just giving this is the foundation of what I'm about to say. That if you have a
Mhm.
civilization which is basically a mega civilization in ancient times, they built mega structures, they had a pre-alphabetic script, and later an alphabetic script or something alphabetic like because you had radicals even in ancient Egyptian where there were clues as to how to pronounce it by like the rebus principle, for example. I won't get into what that means, but the point is it's not totally true to say pre-alphabetic, but whatever, it's more or less the case. Anyway, having those two things, if you actually read what they wrote, if you actually read, even an English translation or any other translation into a modern tongue, if you want to, get the gist of what some of these things said. They had complete and utter impetus to build these structures. It wasn't like, oh yeah, we don't have any reason to other than if aliens intervene. Like it says outright. A lot of the time it had to do with, like I said, the glory of the king or the kingdom. It had to do with direct overtures to the gods. I mean,
Well,
and I'll tell you,
well,
one of the
then
greatest
maybe the gods
motivators,
were aliens.
one of the, well, yes, but one of the greatest motivators for building these mega structures was religion. Think of what
Yeah.
religion motivates people to do.
Yeah.
Is that not impetus?
Well, yeah. So, but see, these gods that you're talking about, though, I think that they were aliens, and
Okay, so
we've
this
been
is another
visiting
issue, right? So now this,
ancient
which
aliens. Yeah.
which see,
So,
I don't necessarily believe that. I would say I lean towards not believing it,
well, isn't it?
but I'm not saying it's impossible because as a true scientist has to say I don't know enough to be able to say for sure. Because if a scientist says, no, I
Well,
don't believe that's the case, if they say, I absolutely reject that aliens were
just
gods,
for fun. Okay, but
that's
just for
that
fun, go out on.
that's not
Yeah, but
scientific to say that.
yeah, that's fine. But go out on a limb, though, acknowledging that you're not being scientific. You can still go out on a limb
No, but
and
no,
go farther and farther
I don't think you're getting
down
what
the
I'm
road.
saying. I'm saying
Yeah.
if an actual scientist says, I don't, it's not possible that aliens were what people thought were gods. If he says that, that goes against the scientific method. It's essentially unfalsifiable because
Yeah,
so
yeah. Well, see, I'm not so
because
concerned with
or at
possibility right now. I
current
acknowledge that. Now,
currently.
look, give it, just
So
give, this
what I'm
might
saying
fall
the only
outside
so what I'm saying
given
is
the premise, given
the
the premise that aliens are real and they were perceived as ancient gods, that falls outside of the range of science because we currently don't have access to a way to
well,
falsify
so
that.
right. So what I'm saying is that the only defensible way to look at it, scientifically speaking, is to say we don't know enough to say for sure.
So it's
That,
but the whole thing is ascientific, though. It doesn't,
no, but it's
at
not,
this
no, but
point,
it's,
it's ascientific.
well, uh, I don't know, maybe. I'm not sure about that. But I'll say this, that the only scientifically defensible position is to be agnostic about it, where you say, I don't
Well, yeah,
know, but
yeah,
but
yeah.
but the
Well, I have
grand
different ways of knowing. Like when I say I don't
but
always mean scientifically.
however, listen, but the grand likelihood is that it was not aliens and that gods were an organic imagining by early man.
Well, that depends on your prior estimations. You see, to the light.
Or maybe it is an actual cosmic force of some kind, and it's not a mere imagining. You know, maybe there really is a
Well,
god or
look at
gods,
look
but that
at
are not aliens.
Occam's razor. Okay, apply Occam's razor
But that's
in
exactly
relation
it.
to the pyramids. For example, now wait, but you Occam's razor might lead to conclusions that you didn't normally think of. Now, look, let's say we have this the Great Pyramid of Giza, heavy structure. See, now, doesn't that lend some credence, just the existence of that, doesn't that lend some credence that maybe the ancients had access to some kind of anti-gravity? Because out of all the other things you could
No,
do,
it
why would
doesn't.
you choose something that is just by definition very
But it doesn't.
heavy?
It doesn't at all, Paul. Because
It does, though.
it doesn't.
No, it
Because
does. Yeah,
because listen, th there's no dearth in archaeological history of human beings, even in early times, being able to move unimaginably large structures that seemingly were beyond their technological capabilities that we know of at that time. Look at Stonehenge.
But still though, isn't it more like, aren't you more likely to do things that are easier? Yeah. So you see, even if it were technically possible for them to build the pyramids, okay, that doesn't mean that they had to do it in that hardest way. Actually, their very existence lends credence to the notion that they had an easier way of doing it. Because of what we know about human motivation, we do easier things.
Listen,
And especially
li
we love to do things
but
that are
here,
very peculiar
but
and mysterious.
but there's a
But we
diff.
would love to apply anti-gravity if we
Paul,
had it. And
Paul, that may be true,
if we had
that's
anti-gravity, wouldn't we apply it to something like building the pyramids?
very plausibly.
Yeah.
But hold on. There's something that's going on in the modern world, which is what I like to call the Google approach to laziness. So that there's this idea that yes, we should do the easiest thing, and that the easiest thing is sometimes, that is to say, the laziest person will come up with the most ingenious way of doing something so that they do the least
Yeah.
work possible. However, if you actually look at the historical record in terms of how ancient civilizations operated, they did not at all go generally by the Google approach. They very often employed what would seem to us to be really circuitous and crazy complicated ways of constructing society and constructing projects. Why? Maybe they didn't know any better. Another possibility is that many of these were arranged by great kings and kingdoms, and they had a lot of slave and servant labor at their disposal, or easily underpaid masses of laborers to do all these things the hard way.
See, I think what you're doing is what most people do. You're looking at the pyramids, and then without taking anything strange, let's say anti-gravity or being able to levitate stones or anything, you just assume that they didn't do that.
But
You
hold
just
on, no,
assume they
no,
did that.
that's
And
not
then, and then you
Paul.
take
That's
the
Paul.
pyramids,
Paul.
they did this.
By the way, this is not what most people do. What most people do
So,
is what most people do is what you're doing. They don't think
uh,
critically about this. What I'm
no,
doing,
I am thinking
hold
critically
on,
in a different
Paul.
way.
Paul, let me. But hold on, but see, you just put me down in that way. Now
Well,
let me
okay,
explain. Now listen.
okay.
This isn't about two guys roughing it out, but I but I do want to say that listen, that you're saying that I'm just assuming. I'm not assuming. I'm telling you from the archaeological record, they say themselves the tools that they use, not in a direct way in every case, but they often show, at least in some wise, how it was done.
Is that accurate though?
Yes, it is.
Does that have to?
It is
I mean, does it
traceable.
have?
It is
Yeah.
fundamentally traceably accurate. This idea that human beings
Oh,
did not have access to
because
this technology is a complete falsehood by people who don't know enough about archaeology. That's it.
so you're saying that you believe they told us how they did it. They left written
Abs
clues of how they did it.
they absolutely did, and not just written clues, but also archaeological clues. That is to say that there are stones and implements that were left behind. Even the shape of the stones in at Giza give us an indication about how it was done
This
physically by
oh,
people, not by
and
aliens
I
or
I
anti or
apologize if I unintentionally put you down
so do
or
I. We shouldn't be putting each
I
other down. We're hosts, we're
I
co-hosts, we're
really
friends.
I really don't mean to.
Yeah.
I think your critical thinking is top tier. But
I
I
actually
think
think
that what
you're a
we're gonna
great thinker
find
too.
out.
But we have to modify each other's behavior. Isn't that why we're here?
Well, now what's I think we're gonna find out soon. I think that within the next 5 years, if the pyramids were built with extraterrestrial, and Angkor Wat and other sites were built with extraterrestrial help or interdimensional help, some kind of levitation kind of, we call it anti-gravity, but I'm sure by the time we find out what it is, anti-gravity will sound funny. But
Paul, I'm sorry, we
they
have less
had
than 1 minute
access.
left before our
Yeah.
meeting adjourns. I apologize.
All right. So they, yeah, we'll have to continue this soon. But I think the time is coming soon where we will know how they did it,
Very
if
pl
they did it with
so,
extraterrestrial
well,
means.
for the
And if
record,
they did it with ordinary means, we'll know that for sure too. But because we'll have access to something really strange.
for the
Yeah,
record,
less than one.
Paul, I hear what you're saying, and I want to just say that I'm not saying that what you're saying is incorrect or false. I'm saying it is possible that there is some truth to the alien interventionist theory or theories, rather. However, again, I believe that the most likely explanation, at least for these civilizational